We begin CBS2 News at 5 with breaking news. The police pursuit just came to a crashing end minutes ago. Sky 2 overhead as the silver sedan sped through the streets of Long Beach.
Police say the suspect was wanted on weapons charges. Several times he went the wrong way through traffic, forcing officers to take action. The suspect was driving down a side street when an officer popped out and tossed a spike strip in front of him. That blew out the car's right front tire, but it didn't stop him.
No, he sped up and drove right into traffic, riding on rims and tearing off part of his bumper. But still, he refused police orders to stop until he took a wrong turn down an alley.
That's when officers got him cornered. He tried to reverse and turn down another alley, but an officer in an SUV was waiting for him. The suspect smashed head-on into that officer's SUV. But when he tried to make a run for it, he was quickly subdued and taken into custody. It appears no officers or bystanders were hurt.
Investigators have released the name of the victim killed in a deadly explosion in Orange County, and they say this was no accident. New details are emerging in that frightening explosion at an Aliso Viejo medical building that killed one person.
Police say the victim was a 40-year-old woman. She owned a day spa where the device exploded. That device may have come from a package. The blast is being treated as a homicide. We have team coverage. CBS2's Dave Lopez has more on the victim.
But we begin with CBS2 Orange County reporter Michelle Gili. She has the latest on this investigation. Michelle.
As you can imagine, there is a lot of debris inside and outside of the building behind me where the explosion happened. The FBI says it has already sent evidence back to Virginia to its lab there to be analyzed. The question is, will this lead detectives to the person or the people who are accused of killing this Aliso Viejo esthetician?
We do not believe at this time that this was an accident.
Hundreds of federal and local investigators are working round the clock to get answers on what caused an explosion that killed the owner of an Aliso Viejo day spa, identified by officials as Ildiko Krynak.
At this point, our working theory is that this explosion was caused by a device. And although the damage was extensive, there are some components that we have located at the scene of the explosion that are inconsistent with what one might expect to find at this business.
Part of the investigation is how the device got to the spa. The Postal Service put out a statement that nothing was sent through the U.S. mail. This is a picture taken seconds after the ferocious blast Wednesday afternoon that blew out windows and demolished the first floor of the medical building at 11 Marablu. Cell phone video from a witness shows bystanders huddled around two of the spa's customers who were burned in the explosion. Orange County Undersheriff Don Barnes says investigators have talked to the women at the hospital where they are undergoing surgery. Officials say evidence into this mysterious crime is being collected in at least 2 counties.
3 search warrants were served earlier this morning, one at the business on Marablu, one in the city of Long Beach, and one in Trabuco Canyon. At this time, there are no arrests.
Authorities acknowledge they have no profile of a suspect or suspects. Law enforcement from several agencies are interviewing victims, family, and associates for clues to determine if 40-year-old Ildiko Krynak was targeted and what the motive is.
We've collected evidence from multiple locations. We've conducted multiple interviews, including interviews of the surviving victims. Evidence is being expedited to the FBI laboratory as we speak. The plane is already wheels up.
Another question is whether the suspect may have dropped this explosive device off at the building, or was it brought here by a delivery service? Officials are not saying, but my sources tell me that this explosive device was inside of a package. Live at Aliso Viejo, back to you.
Thank you, Michelle. As Michelle reported, there are searches going on for clues in 2 other areas.
And CBS2's Dave Lopez is live at a home in Long Beach where FBI agents served a warrant and were seen carrying out boxes. Dave.
Pat, they've been here for almost 24 hours, and they are circling around a name, Stephen Beal. Now, why is Stephen Beal important? Well, we have uncovered records that show that he and the victim formed a corporation together last April. Now, behind me, you can, well, some of the agents were back there. They brought in the hazmat team. They have been very careful what they're going through. They've taken a lot of stuff away, but we begin this at the home of the victim. In the early morning darkness, FBI agents arrived at the Trabuco Canyon home of Ildiko Krynak. a home that neighbors said she shared with her estranged husband. No one wanted to go on camera, but they told me it was no secret that the couple was having marital problems. They lived there with her mother, and agents took out box after box. It was around 1 a.m. when a neighbor's security camera caught whom he identified as Miss Kriniak's husband driving up. He parks in the street, gets out, looks in his trunk, looks in his car, looked in his trunk again, and then went in the house. All of it caught on security video.
This is like such a quiet neighborhood.
And neighbors in this area of Long Beach, 48 miles away from the Orange County home of Miss Kriniak, they were stunned at what was happening at this corner house, a house where authorities say Stephen William Beal lives. He and Miss Kriniak, according to state documents, went into business together, formed a corporation in April. What the connection is, detectives aren't saying, and neighbors seem perplexed by everything.
We saw ATF, FBI, all this other stuff over here.
And the bomb squad and the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, all descended on this house. No one was taken out of the home. We don't know if Beal was in there, but we did see a rifle being removed, and the bomb squad took items out of the garage. And for hours, agents searched every section inside and outside the home. And agents are still here, and it doesn't seem to be any end in sight as to what they are going to be looking for and how long they will be here. One other intriguing factor in all this, at 6 o'clock, we'll give you a little more details about the financial woes that the victim was having. She was deeply in debt. And also, we have been informed that she went to her native Hungary for an extended trip, and she got back the day before she was killed. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Dave. We are awaiting the family of the victim to speak any minute now. We'll bring that to you live. Then at 6, as Dave just mentioned, the latest on the investigation and what we've learned about the victim's serious money problems.
A deadly street race in Mead Valley. The victim's 2 young brothers on their way home from an after-school program. CBS 2's Randy Page is live at the scene where he spoke to their devastated sister. Randy.
Pat, as you take a look down Oakwood Street here, consider this. This is the time of day yesterday when this horrible accident happened. A terrible time and a place for a street race. We've been watching cars go by here every few seconds, and yet, in this case, 2 little innocent boys lost their lives. The bone-chilling sound of a mother's grief. Her 2 little boys are gone. Here's what their older sister Lola wants you to know about her 2 young brothers.
They're sweet little boys, and that they had their whole lives ahead of them, and they should have lived longer.
The CHP says 7-year-old Antonio Gonzalez and his 6-year-old brother Dominic were being driven home from school by their big brother, seen here being comforted by a cousin. They had no way of knowing up ahead on the other side of this rise in the road, 2 cars in the middle of a road race were barreling down on them. The driver of this blue Honda Accord, heading straight for them on the wrong side of the road, slammed into them head on. Antonio and Dominic were killed.
It was a senseless, careless act.
CHP Officer Dan Olive says the driver of the Honda, 27-year-old Richard Zuniga, was taken into custody and booked on suspicion of 2 counts of murder.
We are going to do our part to file the highest charges that we can.
I think there should be justice for what happened. They had no fault in it whatsoever. They were just coming home from school. They were so happy.
2 brothers, inseparable in life, taken in the same senseless instant.
This needs to stop, and we're going to do everything we can to stop it.
And this is what we've seen all day long, a constant stream of cars. Hard to imagine how these 2 drivers thought they could do a road race or a street race along here. We want to let you know that a fund has been set up for the family to help them deal with the funeral expenses. If you would like to help, just go to our website, CBS2.com. Let's go back to you, Suzanne.
Heartbreaking, Randy. Thank you. Along a dramatic ending to a pursuit in San Bernardino County, a carjacked suspect kept police at bay for 3 hours on the 10 freeway overpass in Bloomington. Police called in SWAT as they surrounded the car. They eventually convinced the suspect to surrender. He reportedly carjacked a woman at a San Bernardino nail salon, then ditched her car in Colton and stole a rental car before he was caught.
A 34-year-old school bus driver is behind bars for allegedly molesting children. One of them was a passenger as young as 4 years old. Glendale police arrested Dennis Alcazar earlier this month. He drove for First Student Bus Company and Brooks Transportation. He had roots throughout LA County. Alcazar's alleged victims are from Glendale and Bell Gardens. Detectives are seeking other potential victims.
President Trump rounded up some allies from California in his fight with the state over its sanctuary policies. This afternoon, he met with California mayors, sheriffs, and other local leaders who opposed the state's refusal to cooperate with federal immigration authorities.
A law that forces the release of illegal immigrant criminals, drug dealers, gang members, and violent predators into your communities. California's law provides safe harbor to some of the most vicious and violent offenders on earth.
Governor Brown tweeted his response to the roundtable, saying the president is, quote, lying on immigration, lying about crime, and lying about the laws of California, flying in a dozen Republican politicians to flatter him and praise his reckless policies changes nothing, he says. We, the citizens of the fifth largest economy in the world, are not impressed.
Developing news now. President Trump's latest financial disclosure filing acknowledges he reimbursed his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, for third-party expense last year. It was Cohen who paid adult film star Stormy Daniels $130,000 to keep quiet about an alleged affair she had with the president.
The question is, was this a payoff for that? CBS2's Jeff Vaughn is here with more on the president's financial disclosure. Jeff.
Well, President Trump's payment to his personal attorney is a footnote on that 92-page financial disclosure statement he signed and filed today with the Office of Government Ethics.
On the bottom of page 45, it says, in 2016, expenses were incurred by one of Donald J. Trump's attorneys, Michael Cohen. Mr. Cohen sought reimbursement of those expenses, and Mr. Trump fully reimbursed Mr. Cohen in 2017. The value listed as between $100,000 and $250,000. Cohen paid adult film star Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged affair with Mr. Trump. Rudy Giuliani, who recently joined the president's legal team, revealed earlier this month the president had repaid Cohen. That contradicted what the president told reporters on Air Force One in early April.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
No.
Giuliani explained the president's answer by saying Mr. Trump did not know the specifics, but that there was a general arrangement that Michael Cohen would take care of it. Office of Government Ethics concluded President Trump met his disclosure requirements with this filing, even though the payment was not listed on his form last year. Well, the acting director of the Ethics Office did send a letter to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein saying, I am providing both reports to you because you may find the disclosure relevant to any inquiry you may be pursuing regarding the president's prior report.
Well, also included in that report, the president's Washington, D.C. Trump Hotel took in $40 million of revenue in its first full year of operation. And First Lady Melania Trump earned between $100,000 and $1 million in royalties from Getty Images. That's the latest in the newsroom. Back to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Code red alert. Hawaii's Big Island braces for a major explosion as the smoke plume has now reached 12,000 feet.
Also, doctors are making house calls again, but not just to cure illnesses. We take a look at the growing field of concierge cosmetics.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
Is it Yanny or Laurel? It's the debate that's breaking the internet. We talk to experts about why people are so divided.
Hey everybody, I'm Garth Kemp. What a day today. The marine layer once again really tricky to predict. We'll tell you about it coming up.